Let's go sit outside. Is all right. I need something to set this on. Okay. I need a fucking tripod or something. Goddamn tripod. I don't know. It's kind of chilly out there. What's up? I said I was going to make this video for a long time, and I've never really gotten around to it. And I wanted it to be, but after I've had some time to think about it. What's going on, Jim? Bullionator. Just waiting for folks to kind of show up. Been told that it takes too long to get my videos up and going. I'm trying to do better on that. But there is an issue where people won't get the notification. I'm not sure what's going on with that. Or it'll take people a while, like it'll be an hour into the video and they won't get the notification. I don't know what the fuck's going on with YouTube. Google Tubes. But I've been kind of, laying low for a bit because, well, I have 2 exams, 2 already out here, huh? 2 exams Tuesday, 1 federal government and 1 I'll burn this fucker. Yeah, come here. Got him. All right. There's a bunch of fucking mosquitoes out here. God damn. I'm burning mosquitoes. Can't tell what I'm doing. Alright. So, y'all not gonna bite me. Get me fucked up. So, yeah, I got a chemistry exam on October 3rd, and I have, the chemistry exam is gonna be fucking 3 chapters. And I have a federal government, which the federal government one's going to be a piece of cake. I mean, it's he put the fucking test online on Quizlet. So if somebody doesn't pass this, they don't need to be in college. Like it's kind of one of those things. It's like when you're handed the answers, most of the class is, hey, there are these pressing issues that kind of revolve around us and how we conduct this whole federalism system that we so enjoy with our struggles between state and fucking federal government and the rights and who gets what and who can exert power on who and So most of us are taking the state and federal government class in tandem, so they both overlap all the time. So it's kind of hard to fail these classes. They're just gimmies. That being said, the chemistry exam is something I'm not too concerned with, but traditionally, my first test in the class, a heavy, like a real science class, I shouldn't say real science, but a hard science class, my first exam is always my worst. I'm just getting used to the format, but this dude gave us the exam from last semester to use as a guide, and I sat down with him for an hour. I was the only one in there, but I guess people feel confident in their ability. And I was like, look, man, I'm taking this shit seriously. I got a list right here of skills, and I got a list right here of formula that has come up that I've had to use to solve these problems. And he's like, don't worry about it. I'm going to give you guys a formula list. I'm like, well, fuck me. That's cool. That's a weight off my shoulders because it was up to like 8 formulae. Anyway, I mentioned in the debate with G-Man something toward the end that certain people caught on to, and I've mentioned this before, but A lot of people don't know, but I occasionally mention that the majority of my disability comes from mental illness. And a lot of people say, I didn't know, Drag, that you had suffered from mental illness. Every goddamn day. Every day. I have bad anxiety. I'm able to hide it very effectively now, and it was real bad right after I got out because I had a job as a doing security for Hollywood Casino over in Maryland, and it's kind of jarring to be fresh out of the military and then have to be around a bunch of strange people in a hot ass fucking suit, and just wandering around a casino uh, during the night shift, so overnight. So I'd already had issues trying to stay up, but doing all that was really really stressful, and so then I have to deal with drunk assholes. It's really bad for your nerves. So I've had to try and confront my issues head on, and control myself. And it's not I'll just freak out and just start fucking punching people. It is more of my flight or flight response triggers without me really realizing it until I feel my heart beating. Like it feels like it's about to jump out of my chest, and so that causes irritability, and I start getting angry. So it is just the inclination to become really agitated when the situation doesn't call for it. And it even happens sometimes during this federal government class, and that's why I mentioned it. Because even if I'm just explaining something, because if someone makes a really, really shitty point, it's rife with fallacies and shit. I want to address the fallacies, but try to be as charitable as I can as I'm talking and trying to explain, what's going on with this person's argument. I feel my heart start to race for no reason, and of course that gets me worried because now I'm on high alert. Something's up, something's going wrong. And it is because I have a ton of people I don't necessarily know looking at me, and their body language doesn't tell me whether they're friendly or not. And so unconsciously, I've had to, as a sprinkler, I've had to calm myself down consciously I have to calm myself down because unconsciously I'm taking this as a threat, and my body's putting itself on high alert, ready for something to happen. And it is very stressful. I know I'm not the only veteran in the room who suffers from it, because you can hear it in some of the other. Well, I could hear it in some of the other veteran voices of the older gentleman above me who sits on the tier above me, who got out of the Marine Corps. And so I hear him kind of getting louder and his speech getting faster the longer he talks when he's really passionate about something. It doesn't bother me, but I can hear his anxiety kicking in too. And so I know I'm not the only one who deals with that. I know there's a few other civilians who, they said that they've suffered from depression, and that's one of the things that was kind of brought up in a conversation yesterday, was that somebody they've been clean for 6 months, and somebody's finally getting over their anxiety and depression, and that's good. That's definitely good to hear. But one of the things that Bullionator is another veteran. If you have PTSD, you understand. And I was shocked when I got my rating back. I didn't know I had PTSD. I was like, I'm fucking fine. I was like, I'm going to get some from my knee. I would rather have full use of my knee back rather than the money. Don't get me wrong, the money's nice. It just hit my bank account. Thank you again for those of you who donate to Patreon and donate to Super Chat and all that kind of stuff. Thank you. But now my GI Bill stuff is kicking in, so now I'm at a place where I am a bit more financially stable and things aren't up in the air. Still trying to get my wife to get a job, so that's stressful. And so my wife also suffers from depression, from issues unrelated to the military, but some family issues that if she wants to talk about it on her channel, on her time, she will, because I think that's what she was trying to connect with Shani on, because Shanny and my wife actually share a lot in common that she really didn't realize. But like I said, they talk on Shanny's channel, on her channel, and so that may be therapeutic for Shanny. But one of the things that I advocate is that people get help, and trust me, I wouldn't say this unless I've actually gone to a mental health facility for depression, for anger issues, while I was in the military, and I have to now try and find a way to fit this into my schedule where I can go and see the VA to continue my mental health, services. And it is very important that folks do that, because I was that guy. I was that guy who said, well, why do I need to come and sit on some guy's fucking couch and tell him how shitty my life is? Like, how is that going to help me? And so I said, well, you know what? Since I am skeptical, I need to go and challenge myself to do better. I need to challenge myself to seek this remedy, this potential remedy, rather than just poo-pooing it away. I'm no better than the people I talk to online who avoid science, but are always skeptical of science. This is a question here. Drag, sad to hear you have PTSD. Did you go after tour? No, that's the thing. I was active duty, but I've never actually served in an active theater. And for those of you who don't know what an active theater is, Iraq, Afghanistan, those are active theaters. Well, actually, no. There's only one active theater now. Let me correct myself. One of them now is not technically an active theater anymore, but there's another classification for it. I've been out for a while, so I forgot the terminology. But no, they sent me to the NTC, so I got to play in the Mojave Desert and get lost in the desert more than once, which is that in itself is scary. But I didn't start having anxiety issues until I went to the gas chamber the first time, and I wasn't prepared for what the CS gas actually did. And now that I started thinking about it more and more after I saw PTSD on my evaluation from the VA. But when the gas hits you, it causes every orifice, every mucous membrane on your body to secrete mucus uncontrollably. So imagine the worst cold you have with all the snot and everything. Imagine that's being forced out of every crevice, every open hole in your body, and you can't stop it. There is no stopping it. It is so irritating. It is so painful that you don't know whether or not you can breathe. And so it hit me like a ton of bricks when I thought I felt my throat occluding. And so I'm like, am I going to fucking choke on this shit? And they're just sitting here, soaking it up. Like, what the fuck's going on? And so my instinct is to run, to get away from that place. And that's when, every hole that gas can get to, you will excrete mucus uncontrollably. It is terrible. It is a bad experience. I had to go through twice. Just so you have an idea. And the second time was a bit better because I was more prepared. But after that is when I actually had an anxiety attack, because I was supposed to go to the leaders course or something like that. I forgot what it's called. And like the thought of me actually going through this course, because it was one of the parts of basic training that I would actually enjoy, the thought of that excited me, and my heart started racing, and I started getting short of breath. And like, I had never felt any of this before. I've never had an anxiety attack. And then once I started describing it to some of the other soldiers, they said, yeah, man, it sounds like you have an anxiety attack. And I was like, wow, this is what people go through? This is shitty. Like, you can't do anything but just lay there. And I've not had that issue since, but I've had, I guess you could say, there we go. Yeah, okay, so if you've never had an anxiety attack or a panic attack or anything like that, it's really hard to describe what it feels like. And it is something that's scary. And so when folks try to tell other people who've never suffered from a mental illness, oh, you just, if you're depressed, just go outside and get some air, you'll feel better. If you have anxiety, just don't be anxious anymore. That's no, like don't don't say some shit like that. Because if people don't choose to go through this shit, nobody would choose this shit. Nobody is sitting there. You're like, I just need to sit and wallow in my own shit. That's not how any of this works. That's not ever how. Like, there are people, don't get me wrong, who go, well, you know what? I just feel like shit today. That's not the same thing as having clinical depression. Like they're not the same thing. So if somebody does go through depression, there's a certain thought process that they can't really help because they don't know how they're hurting themselves in a way. Because there's an actual worksheet. Like when I went to these sessions, I got homework, and you're supposed to write down. There's different columns on the paper, and you write down a negative thought, and you write down like an alternative thought that's not negative or something like that. And so you kind of begin to see how you sabotage your own thinking without realizing it. And that after you go through exercises like that, you become more adept at controlling your life and your thoughts. And it's very important because oftentimes, we end up sabotaging ourselves in a way by doing that. Try to pay attention to the chat. Brother got out after not being being in active theater for a few years. Smokes more than I ever remember. Drinking problem. Not sure what it did to him. It's stressful, man. Being in the military is a different climate. It's hard to readapt. A lot of people, and yeah, if the gas can't get in your asshole, that's the one orifice that you're not going to excrete from. If it can get in there, that's the mucous membrane. Run in the CS chamber naked. You'll see. But somebody did that. Not during but somebody just ran in there naked once. But being in the military is stressful. It is a different environment because at all times, anytime you're outside, you're underneath a certain set of rules. There is no, I'm going to be in uniform and on my front porch and relaxing, and I don't have to really be attentive to what I say and what I do. Anytime you walk outside, ever, you are under scrutiny and you are under the watchful eye of another person. If that makes sense. Like, you have to put on a professional face, and you have to change your demeanor, unless you're G-Man. I'm gonna just talk shit at G-Man. Just, it's just a joke. Relax, G-Man. Even G-Man has to be a bit more professional. A bit more. But most of us, when we go to our jobs, we have to be professional and kind of change a lot of the stuff that we do. We can't just interrupt people in the middle of them saying something. You can't just be rude to somebody because they're rude to you. That sort of thing. But in the military, that's all. If you're on a military base, you don't know if this asshole that you're honking at is a fucking 3-star general. You have no idea. And so you're always cognizant of the possibility of you getting fucked up. Like, it is always a danger. You are always on high alert, because if you fuck up, that's going to be your ass. But see, now, I'm sitting on my porch. I don't give a fuck who comes by. I don't care if they see me recording and talking loud, whatever. But on a military base, somebody could walk by as I'm just sitting here off duty and say, hey, why are you out here, yelling at a camera? What's going on here? And that can cause issues. It doesn't matter. So trying to transition from a high-stress environment at all times to an environment where you can literally be yourself again is a really painful transition. And that's why some people can't make that. They can't adapt to the military lifestyle. And because it is stressful. It is a real big stressor, because you have to fundamentally change who you are. And then there's a process of learning who you are again, because you've had the former you stripped away. Because being a dirty civilian is not something that's good. You can't, being an unrefined, unpolished, undisciplined civilian has been stripped away from you, and so now the military is going to make you better. They're going to break you down to build you back up. But now that you're out of that environment, who are you? And that is something that certain people can't deal with. And I think that a few of my battle buddies from Alpha Troop, they lost themselves. Almost every year, I would say almost every single year that I've been out, one of my former battle buddies has killed themselves. It seems like, at least for the last 3 years, I've lost 3 former members of Alpha Troop, 1st Squadron, 11th Armored Cavalry Regiment. That is not good. Almost every year, one of them kills themselves. And I have to wonder, is it a curse? What happened? Because every time we try and find out information about what's going on, nobody knows. And these guys, these are infantry guys. Some of them have seen more than 1, more than 2, more than 3 tours. But it may be due to the fact that they've gotten out, they want to move on with their lives, but they can't. The military was their life. This was who they are. And so life was no longer worth living. I don't know. Unfortunately, I can't exhume their body and extract their thoughts because nobody knows. And that's why mental illness is one of those really sinister diseases, because it's hard to diagnose. You really don't know what's going on inside somebody's head. And it's fortunate that I have a strong support system. I'm not saying that they didn't, but I do have a strong support system who understands the issue better than others, and that I have goals. I have sets of goals to prevent me from going down that route, because I have my own personal goals and I have larger goals for society. So for me, that's not necessarily a danger. Don't get me wrong. Suicidal ideation is something that had afflicted me at one point in time. I have no idea why. I'm not sure what about getting out of the military triggers that in people. And I think that's still an ongoing area of research. I have no idea. But many people don't want to verbalize that because it is such a stigmatized topic. Mental illness in the military is still something that's very taboo because it shows weakness. You don't ever want to show a weakness. It's becoming better now that people can talk about it, but when you hear about somebody who has been like I already told them. It would be better if we lived in a society that accepted mental illness as a real illness. I had a good friend and shipmate take his own life when his service weapon, while on watch, the entire military grinds people into the ground. Honestly, doesn't care about them. Yeah, and people will get discarded, just like that. That people will get pushed to the brink and not actually helped, or an intervention that people, will say will help is not as effective as folks think. And then when people turn to different methods to try and deal with their issues, then they're punished for it. So it's like, I will never get any type of reprieve, so, why even try? And people give up. And mental illness is a complex issue that needs complex answers, and it needs to be referenced with some degree of nuance. And you don't see that. You even see it in the civilian world. Like, we all know that Shani acts crazy. Shani can lose her goddamn mind. But for most people who suffered from some of the stuff that Shani suffers from, they understand. And that's why they encourage her to get help. That's why, Shani can go off on a tangent. And I probably won't ever be mad at Shani because I do understand. Now, mind you, she's responsible for her fucking actions. Now, I'm not one of those people who just says, well, I'm depressed, therefore I get to say whatever I want about people because depression. I fucking hate that. You know what you're saying, and you know that you're a shitty person for using it as an excuse. But for somebody with a bad mental illness that really does influence their thinking, they need to be cognizant of that, and that what they do around other people has an impact. Um, I'm trying to light this this coil for the mosquitoes. I've had to burn like 6 mosquitoes because they're out in force today. Mozzie coil, yeah, that's what that thing. Um, so it is a tough topic just overall in our society, and that people with mental illnesses, get to a point where it's like, how am I supposed to sit in a class and interact with people when I'm an introvert? Like, my little brother is very introverted, very introverted. And so I'm pretty sure he's in the Air Force now. I'm pretty sure after he's done his duty, he goes to his room and he's playing fucking PS4, and that's it. Like, he's now getting to the point where he can go out and hike and do stuff like that with other people, but he's very introverted. If you suffer from anxiety and you're very introverted, it is hard to interact with a group of people and work together as a team. And it puts you in an awkward position because you're like, you know what, I want to contribute, but it's the stress of just dealing with these social interactions makes it damn near impossible. It's something that people tend not to take into account, and so folks get the wrong impression of people in this situation. They go, well, this person's just a fucking douche and they're just lazy, and all these other negative labels get attached to them unfairly. Because we don't have conversations enough about, how mental illness impacts people's character. So it's a balance. Knowing how your mental illness impacts you as a person, and understanding that mental illness is not an excuse for you to behave any kind of way in an interaction with somebody. I wouldn't be surprised if fucking what's his name, Shamos, has a mental illness where he just does not interact with people well in real life. So he's here to try and prove that he has a shred of self-esteem, but whatever. And I'm really just speculating. I have no idea. His shitty attitude is then being excused in his mind because of this supposed mental illness. I could see that scenario play out that way because I've seen that before. But let's not use it just as a fucking bludgeon. Your mental illness is not a bludgeoning tool to be used against other, whether it be Asperger's, whether it be whatever. But also don't let it cripple you in any way. And people who do suffer from anxiety, I got you. People who do suffer from depression, I definitely fucking got you. The reason my family is physically here right now in Texas is because that place that we were in, the fucking meth fucking center of the Northeast Maryland, Cecil County, Maryland, nothing but fucking crackheads there. Nothing but meth heads, excuse me. That's the drug of choice. Meth heads. There are barely any jobs. The fucking wealth gap between the super fucking rich and the goddamn poor is so bad. You can literally go down East Philadelphia Highway and it looks like something out of fucking what was that goddamn show? It used to come on in the late 80s, goddamn. That was about the fucking the Beverly Hillbillies. Looks like something out of Beverly Hillbillies, and then you turn into you just take a left, going down East Philadelphia. Just take a left about halfway down. You go into this neighborhood of quarter, half, $1 million houses, where my in-laws live. It's a huge disparity. There's no progression to that, and it's like that hurts. Because how are you supposed to, like, if you're not military, former military, you don't work on that base, you're not getting paid shit at all. So being in that situation is stressful. Being around people, the people who are fucking just drug-addled and just have issues and there's no opportunities, that actually adds more to your plate and negatively impacts you to the point that your depression has no choice but to really cripple you. And so for my mental health and for my wife's mental health, I said, look, we're going to move to a place where I feel very comfortable. I know my wife feels more comfortable because she enjoys the South more, just as far as culture goes. Because I didn't like the people in Maryland, except a few folks that I work with and a few folks that I know, very, very few. I didn't like the people in general. I like the people in general here. And believe it or not, this area of Texas is more progressive minded and more friendly, Southern hospitality, than people in that part of the U.S. So for our mental health, we moved. And I saved up as much money as I could to say, you know what, take our shit from there, move it down here, take a plane. We're going to be near family. We're going to be near people who love us and people who are, we want to help each other grow. And it has been exponentially better here. Even if my wife is still waiting on a call back from another job interview, we will take that over the no possibilities and no opportunities and the shitty circumstances of being in that place. Like it's a no-brainer. Dragnet living with Asperger's and some anxiety, depression from my folks trying too hard, get me socialized after moving out Philadelphia naval base. Yeah, I mean it takes time, Aaron. It definitely takes time to kind of, and I would say, put yourself in precarious situations. I know that my anxiety kicks in when I'm in that federal government class, but I will, every single opportunity, speak my mind on topics. And there's a lot of folks in there who want to hear me speak my mind. And so that's why I'll wait and let other people speak, because, you know, if I just go and dominate the conversation, nobody's going to talk. But I know what now triggers my anxiety, so I have to work on controlling what happens within my own realm. Because I can't go out here and blame other people for staring at me funny, or go out here and be upset that people are looking at me as I'm fucking talking, when I'm the one that's kind of eliciting, you know, all the responses. So it's incumbent upon me, if I want to get better, and I would suggest this for anybody, if you want to get better, you have to face the issues and not let them preclude you from success. And even during the debate with G-Man, when I'm having to, you know, juggle putting across my point, dealing with, you know, his potential antics, and even when I'm in G-Man's room, I have to control myself. And that's why you'll see me more relaxed than I normally am, because I can't allow his antics and his erratic behavior to trigger my anxiety, because I'm just going to get pissed. And if I get pissed, I'm going to fly off the fucking handle, because I still suffer from anger issues. That's why you rarely see me get angry, because I have trouble controlling it. So having these interactions helps me control the issues that I have, and that in the long run, when there is a high stakes, high stress environment, I can be more adept at dealing with them, if that makes sense. Let me see what people are saying. Drag, increase your exercise level, high intensity daily, remove cortisol and estrogen. Yeah, and that's something that I'm definitely getting set up on. Because now that I have my set schedule, I got to get a new book bag to fit in workout clothes in, such as this, and fit in all my big ass binders. And so once I'm able to fit in my workout clothes, big ass binders, and then have my little water there, I'm going to incorporate almost daily the workouts from the gym, because I have to pass the gym in order to get to my technical writing class. And that's definitely in the works. Thank you for reminding me. Definitely exercise is something that everyone needs to be in every week. Does it irritate you when people use the condition to justify being a scumbag? That seems to be common. Yes, Sam, actually I addressed that earlier. I did address that. Having Asperger's is not an excuse for being a shitty person. And I know someone, Alicia, some of you see her very rarely on some of my other channels, or you may occasionally see someone named EM and has a little green or yellow person icon. Alicia has to deal with a guy who we believe he has Asperger's. I think she said that he said he had it, and he is a condescending dickbag. A complete condescending dickbag. Every chance he gets, he tries to degrade her. And mind you, Alicia is a corrections officer in New York State, has a master's degree, and is working now on changing her field to mathematics, applied mathematics. So she is almost 20 years, this guy's senior, and he feels as though because people have coddled him to a certain point, that he can talk to people any kind of way and then use Asperger's as an excuse. No, negative, sir. at all whatsoever. And I'm really big on people not using that. I can sit here and say, well, this person triggered my anxiety. Yeah, it sounds familiar, right? We all know. Uh, I can't use my anxiety as an excuse for flipping out on somebody. If I know that I am inclined to have this type of interaction piss me off and trigger my anxiety, I walk the fuck away. That's not, well, they triggered me, so I just fly out the fucking handle. No, that's not how. And I hate hearing that, especially from grown ass men, or supposed grown ass men. If you know that something is going to elicit a particular response from you and you don't think that you can handle it, so you know what? We'll continue this another time. Things are getting to the point that they don't need to get heated on. Like, just walk the fuck away. And that's better than letting things go out of hand. I mean, if the conversation is going down that route, then, it's just, you have to be cognizant of your faults. And that's one of the things that I criticize G-Man on, is that he blames other people for triggering him. And we even saw that, and it doesn't matter who he's in a hangout with. And I'm going to pick on you for a little bit, G-Man, because you are known for this, and I've watched you do it. When he went into the Bible Thumping Wingnut show, he said, well, this guy came in to trigger me. When everybody else watched it, everybody there was cordial. You know what, for a bunch of Calvinists who have their head stuck up their ass, they were being cordial. No one else had this kind of conspiratorial mindset in which, well, they sent this guy in to fuck with me. Like, okay, if you know that, here's what kills me. If you know that someone's trying to trigger you or trying to upset you, then why would you let them? If you get that, why not remain calm and not give them what they want, or just say, you know what, that's okay, we'll continue this another time. There's so many other options other than, well, showing the worst that you could show and then making an excuse for it later. And it may have something to do with how I was raised. I think it has a lot to do with how I was raised, because my mother would have kicked me in the fucking teeth if I had said something like that. Like, what the fuck did I teach you all those years? You don't allow people to control you. You don't allow people to tell you what to do and how to act. You make up your mind on what's acceptable, have some type of acknowledgement of the social decorum that we have in our society, and act accordingly. Don't let people influence you on what to do to make you look bad. No, like, that's just, it's crazy. And like I said, I'm gonna pick on G-Man a little bit for that, because that's something that he routinely does, and that sticks in my craw to no end. And I think it's, if you make excuses for your shitty behavior, you can never get better. And folks can take this to heart. It's the same thing with some of the other folks we deal with. Hold on. Dre, I've been down the whole blame road with my own mother, even when I've realized that she's got issues of her own. Yeah. Oh yeah. My mother could never admit when she was wrong. And that's tough to grow up with somebody who's never wrong. Even when she's dead fucking wrong, she's wrong. And so I think at the time, looking back at it, that caused a lot of stress between my mother and I. Even though she's a very wise woman, very Christian, very wise woman, she only has certain tools and she didn't have all the answers. So it was important that she give the facade, as she could put up this persona as if she did know everything. But then that caused stresses in her marriage and between her and I, because even back then I was a bit more perceptive than most kids. So pretending you know everything is almost as bad as making an excuse for your fucking action. Like, it's really up there. It's really up there. But she doesn't do it now because she knows she doesn't know more than me. But it's interesting though. It's interesting how I see people interact, through this medium, and it's interesting how I see people interact even when they're not, because I have the ability to work with almost anybody. And that was one of the skills that I adopted while I was in the military. I had to learn how to deal with difficult people. Even when my leadership, my first, I want to say, was he my first? No, he was my second, because the fucking short dude was my first. This tall, lanky, evangelical Christian was my squad leader. Nobody wanted to work with him because he was such a fucking tool. He would try to be funny, try to be cordial, but he didn't. He was just kind of one of those shell of a person who he just lived for his job and for his religious beliefs, and that was it. There wasn't, well, it appeared as though there was nothing much to him, but he was actually a really cool guy once you got to know him. And so I had to put aside what I thought about him to give him a chance and see that, you know, people aren't as bad as you think they are. And if they give you that impression, it's because maybe they don't understand. And looking back at it, I think he had some social issues where he didn't pick up on cues very well. But but yeah, that's something that I specialized in, and I think that it would help if others kind of took the time to do that. But it takes a lot of patience, and folks aren't willing to be that patient with folks, especially when they make excuses for themselves and they blame everyone else for, you know, bad interactions, even when bad interaction with this person, with that person, with this person, with that person, with this person, the common denominator there is, well, it's you. You know? So Drag My Mom got born again about 5 or 6 years ago. I've noticed her become a shell of herself, and over that time she digs herself further in church. Yeah, that tends to happen. That does tend to happen, and I call them shells because there's nothing to them but that exterior that is just there for to be an outlet of certain religious beliefs. They don't have a personality. They don't have any interest other than these religious beliefs, and that's it. I mean, it's no different than people who only live to play Yu-Gi-Oh! That's it. There's nothing else to them. You're not actually living life, experiencing new things, and expanding your horizons. You're just there for that one thing, and that's it. And that seems boring to me. That seems like a waste of life. Your entire life is revolved around this one topic, this one ideology. That's it. That's all there is to you. Well, if that's what you want to deal with, and that's all you are, that's fine. But don't expect me to change who I am when I have a variety of topics that I'm interested in. I have even more that I want to add to that. It seems like such a waste. It really does. Well, I'm living for Jesus. Well, that's fine. In the meantime, you know, you could be able to talk about other things, you know, and if it segues into religion, well, don't force it. And that's kind of one of the things that I found odd about Veckel, is that he had said something a few years ago that rubbed me the wrong way, is that he's always trying to kind of show people Christ. And it's like, well, if you're at a barbecue and we're talking about, you know, the NFL and, you know, who's going to win, why are you that asshole that's trying to segue back into your religion every single conversation? I've dealt with a guy who that's all he did was try to segue conversations back to his religion, and I'm like, dude, you're selling it, but I ain't buying it. Like let's talk about bitches and beer. Like, you know, it doesn't even have to be bitches and beer. It can be, let's talk about the weather, anything, and that shit's annoying. It's really annoying. It's like, why would I even want to be in your presence if this is all you are? If I want to sit and talk to a recording, I can go sit and talk to a recording. At least it won't breathe down my neck. So, yeah. So the title is A Lie Again. Who could have guessed? Yeah. No, it's Toriyama. The conversation kind of strayed away from it. Stay away from the thread, I think. But overall, don't let mental illness stop you from doing things. Don't let Asperger's stop you from interacting with people in a group. Don't let anxiety stop you from speaking your mind. Don't let what you think are your limitations stop you from achieving the things that you want to achieve. I've graduated from that shithole with a fucking associate's degree. Well, I've graduated with honors. Even though I'm in a class with people, you know, I'm almost fucking 12, 15 years older than a lot of them. and they annoy the ever-living piss out of me. The ever-living piss out of me. And I'm just like, you know what, the petty shit that you guys are talking about, in my mind, I'm just like, I want to shoot myself in the face. But even being irritated and not wanting to socialize, and I have to force myself out of that in order to achieve success. I had to put myself out there in order to do the things that I do and hopefully be an inspiration to a few folks. Not many, just a few. Because I've learned that for some strange reason, I tell people about the shit that I've done, and they feel inspired by that. One of the guys that I work with saw me losing weight to join the Army. This guy weighed over 500 pounds, and he lost, I want to say he lost around 300 pounds just so he could join around the same time. It's, you know, I didn't know that I had that effect on people. So I said, well, you know what, let me use this YouTube channel occasionally for something positive. And then if you do suffer from mental illness, you have to fight. It's just you have the same road as everyone else. That road is not blocked. You just have a few speed bumps. How you deal with it is going to determine whether or not, if you're successful. Because how many people have you seen walk into class late with their fucking Starbucks, and they sit and they barely pass the class? But people who walk in a little late and having anxiety disorder, and they instantly freeze up because they see everyone look at them. And so that entire class period, they have to be on high alert because now that's elicited this visceral response in them that makes things even more stressful. Not to mention, if it's a hard science, you have that to deal with. So you have those two scenarios. One of them is exponentially harder than the other. Your success story as someone who deals with mental illness is a much better success story because you've had to go through more trials and more tribulations than somebody who does not. That's the way that I view it, because people find it more interesting that I've had to go back to school now a few times and I've had to juggle all the things that I juggle, including mental illness, in order to be this successful, because it's not impossible. The people in my class who don't suffer from mental illness may not have to, talk to. Let me. Chat's going fast, Solo. Sorry. The people who don't suffer from mental illness may not have to go and talk to Dr. Larag and sit down with him for an hour and go over some of these word problems. But fuck him, I did, because I want to make sure I know the shit. General Han Solo says, I suffer from PTSD too, Drag, but it's rare, and when it happens, it's bad. Not sure if it's because the 12 plus years of Japanese Kendo, but yeah, it's a small thing, like driving a car can trigger it. Yeah, I mean, you can get PTSD from different scenarios. Some people get it from car accident. Some people have been violently raped, and they get PTSD. It happens. It's post-traumatic stress disorder. Whatever was traumatic for that person can cause this condition, and it can be debilitating. But it's, I'm not sure if you can get it from Twitter or Tumblr. I'm still kind of iffy on that one. But it's incumbent upon people who no, thanks, Sam. It's incumbent upon a person who suffers with it to try and overcome it, to seek help, to acknowledge that it is an issue, it is somewhat debilitating, but not let it cripple them. You can't let it cripple you. You cannot. There are days I wake up and I'm like, you know what, I would just want to sit down and Netflix and chill with my wife. I would rather not deal with the stresses of walking around a bunch of people I don't know, because that, to some degree, that still kind of bothers me, especially if somebody kind of glares at me and I don't recognize them. That sets off an alarm. Is like, because I do see a few of those potential school shooter kids, who I'm talking about, and they're just they're not just glancing at the entrance as everyone else is, carefully looking at their phone or trying to balance their book bag and their coffee. They're just kind of glaring at certain folks, and they're just kind of scanning left and right. And see, that kind of thing bothers me, because then I start going, like, why is this person doing this? What's going on with this? So that puts me on high alert. But knowing that my cousin works there, works at both these campuses as a police officer, if there is an issue, I can just give him a call and say, hey, yeah, Creeper McCreepface over here. Can you tell one of you guys on duty to come and check out this kid? I've not done anything like that, but like, worst case scenario, if I really thought that somebody was trying to pick out some soft targets, then I could do that. So that gives me a bit of reprieve in that sense. But it is overall, and this honestly could fit for any personality defect or for any issue. If you know that people have been saying this is an issue, more than likely something's going on and it should be addressed. It's one of the reasons I opened up that hangout a few days ago. Now I was like, well, people, if you have a criticism of me, then let me know and we can talk about it live. And some people hit me up privately to yeah, I guess I opened myself up to criticism, and I got some pretty good responses. And I wrote them down. That's something for me to work on. It's not going to change tomorrow. It's not going to change the next day. It might not change next week. But it's something to be cognizant of, to go, you know what, how can I try to incorporate some of these into the future version of myself? Because if I'm always trying to work toward being better, if that's your goal, then having constructive criticism, having that feedback is critical toward that. Because believe it or not, I do have idols. When I was growing up, and if some of y'all have not watched this show, you're not gonna know who this is. Living Single. Living Single had a character named Kyle Barker. He's played by a guy named T.C. Carter. I think it's T.C. Carter is his real name. I need to make sure. Somebody fact check me on that. I want to say his real name is T.C. Carter. He's a voice actor that plays Kratos in the God of War series. If you've ever heard Kratos' voice, that's T.C. Carson. I'm sorry, T.C. Carson. He plays Kyle Barker, and Kyle Barker is very suave, very intelligent, very knowledgeable man that, he gets all the ladies. But this man's wit is matched only by his good looks. Like, he has some fatal flaws. Sometimes he can't really see the forest for the trees. Very idealistic. He's a lot less grounded than his counterpart, Overton. But Overton's a very simple guy. He is, kind of more of a man's man, and they make really good friends because they're like a foil to each other. So their interaction is something that I really admire. And so T.C. Carson's character kind of was my inspiration to what I kind of wanted to be like in the future. Terrence C. Carson. Okay. Yeah, T.C. Carson. There we go. Yeah. And that's who I wanted to strive for, but I didn't want his personality defects. So I said, well, to help balance that, if he is the archetype that I'm using, then I need to open myself up to constructive criticism so I can avoid, falling into that hole. And that's something that we don't see a lot of people do, and I think it's important. I would love to see members of the CCP genuinely open up a hangout and say, you know what do you guys think are my flaws? And don't fight people on it. Just say, okay, write it down. All right, talk about it a little bit more later, but let's write it down. I challenge them to do that. Go for it. If you're not insecure with who you are, then I can see people having an issue with it. But you'd be surprised what type of interactions you may get from people. Like if Ozzy were to do that, the first thing people are going to say is, Ozzy's long-winded as fuck. Ozzy will tell you he's long-winded as fuck. Hogtie will tell you he's long-winded as fuck. So people who understand their own flaws and can introspect don't have a problem doing this type of thing. But it is it is very helpful, and because sometimes it is hard to self-examine yourself, and that's why it ties back into the mental illness thing. If you know you have a mental illness, you can't ignore it because people are going to pick up on it. Inevitably, people will pick up on it. There's enough talk about it. There's enough instances of it to where people can pick up on it. So, even my daughter recognizes G-Man. G-Man's tell of laughing maniacally when he's talking bullshit. Yeah, thank you. You trust me, my wife and I had a conversation this morning about certain things that she sees from art, like people's interaction with the CCP. Mind you, my wife has only spoken to G-Man, and she would prefer to speak to G-Man just on the phone rather than on here, because she's seen what happens when you try to bring up a supposed inconsistency, and she's seen how they interact with people, and she wants no part of that at all because it's toxic. That's not her words, they're mine. They are toxic. And if you can't have an informal conversation and keep some type of decorum, then there is no point in having conversations. If you just, because I can sit here and shit on people all day. Trust me, I can shit on people all day, and that's going to make for a great soundboard. But it's even harder to sit down and say, okay, I see what people are saying if I censor them, so let me not censor people to prove them wrong. That's not the best option, but that's a start. That's a beginning platform to go. Let me try not to be as insecure and sensitive as I think I am, and let me go and try and strive to be better. Yeah, the maniacal laughter and shit. Yeah, that's a really bad. Like, if there was ever a tell, G-Man, don't ever play poker, man. Don't ever play poker, because the second he starts maniacally fucking laughing, yeah, everybody put all in. Everybody all in. Let's do it. All in. You ain't got shit. Guess what? Whoop, all the money gone. That is a horrible tell. But you ever get a chance to watch people playing poker, you pick up on shit. Like, if you ever just don't even go to the casino to gamble. Just go and watch the poker tables. They're fascinating. Anyway, that's my little aside. G-Man is a personified tell. A little lighthearted laugh, nothing major about G-Man, just a little, but no, it's Veckel has one too. If anybody wants to go back and watch some old Veckel videos, Veckel has a tell. I'm not gonna say what it is. He has one. It's bad. If you go back and watch the old videos that I'm in, you'll hear me pick up on it because you'll hear me chime in. Trying to go to leave my local fairgrounds. There's a game room, pinball. Oh, okay. Have fun. See you later, Rap. But yeah, I wanted to kind of make this video because I've told a few people I want to make a video about depression, about anxiety, about mental illness for some time now. I was never sure how to construct it, how to put it together, and how to present it. So I'm just like, fuck it, let's sit out here and talk. For some reason, people like me to sit out here and monologue for however long about shit. So supposedly, my opinion, it matters to somebody somewhere. I don't fucking know why, but it does. So I'll talk. But I think it's incumbent upon the person, whether it's a mental illness or whether it is just idiosyncrasy. I can barely pronounce that word, but I know what it means. It's incumbent upon you, if you know that person after person after person after person says that, you know what, when you get in these conversations, you get a little loud. You get a little aggressive with folks, and it comes out of nowhere. Oh no, I'm fine. It's like, well, if people tell you that should tickle something in the back of your mind and go, maybe they're picking up on it because it makes them uncomfortable. Maybe for a second, I might want to do something about that. I live with someone who my wife and I live with somebody from New Orleans who would routinely get louder and louder, even if the conversation wasn't contentious. It could just be just like a slight differing of opinion, and they would get progressively louder. And as because I didn't understand it, I thought she was just being an asshole or a bitch. and she was a bitch. But that's the environment that she grew up in. If you were the louder one, you were right. And so if you could yell over your interlocutor, then you won that discussion. And that's fucking ghetto fagglish to the fucking nth degree. But that's how she grew up. And so I need to take that into account and kind of nip that in the bud as it comes up, because you're not going to yell at me. I had to pull G-Man aside of yelling at me on the phone. And that's one. I'll put up with the crazy shit that he says. I'll put up with just the contradictory statements, the hypocrisy. I can deal with all that. That's just a part of him. I'll let that shit go for the most part. But you're not gonna yell at me. Let me reiterate here. You're not gonna yell at me. We gonna have some fucking issues. So as long as people accept that boundary that I have, I'm fine. I will put up with bullshit from people. But you're not going to yell at me. Ever. Ever. And that's when we can stay cool. We can be fine. I can put up with people being assholes and kind of, I put up with Shameless's bullshit. He's not going to yell at me. I can put up with true empiricism, questioning my education and how much I know about a topic. Like I fucking care. I think it's funny. But you're not going to yell at me. I can put up with every so often, Antonio, someone paying attention and offering his 2 cents to what he thinks is the case. You're not going to yell at me. Oh, thank you, dear. Mr. Dragnut just brought me some McDonald's. I was out here chilling. I don't know what fucking time it is. I need to get my ass to class.
O'clock.
It's 11? I need to fucking get ready. You brought me some McDonald's. What's that? Oh, that's the new. Are you doing your video later today?
As soon as I was next in line, he announced, he was like, "Is anybody waiting for the SNES Classic? Just to let you know, we're sold out." I was like, "I pre-ordered mine." Oh, besides her, she's good. Sorry, we're sold out. I was like, "Damn, Eddie."
So my wife is gonna go on. She's gonna go live on her channel, and she's gonna do an unboxing and all that kind of shit. Go subscribe to my wife if y'all wanna hear her talk about that. That's all you brought me was a drink.
The food is in the bag.
Oh, okay.
It's out here.
No, I'm gonna come in. I'm gonna come in a second. I'm gonna come in. Let me come in right now. Actually,
I'm leaving my shoes out here.
Here, hurry up! They got mosquitoes out there. I'm gonna burn them all day. I'm not trying to steal your damn shoes. Like, who around here will fit your shoes? But yeah, I have my hard. I have my hard. I should not hang up on that word. God damn it! I have my limits to what I put up with. I'll take people being condescending and hypocritical, that kind of stuff. I'll take it in stride. But oh, Thallow Blue said, "Looking good, Mrs. Drag. You want to say hi?"
Hi.
So, like I said, I think everybody should have that hard limit. Like, you're not going to cross this line with me ever. But also be flexible enough to go, look, there is some stuff that I will tolerate in order to make the conversation progress. Because there's certain things that you kind of got to put up with. I know my buddy Larry, who's also from New Orleans. Larry has a lot of personality. Larry will kind of get, he'll get a little loud, but he gets excited and he gets passionate. And so if you're not ready for that, it can kind of catch you off guard. But I know if I'm dealing with Larry, I'm dealing with somebody who is true from the NO, as they like to say. And when you get passionate about something, he gets passionate. That's not the same thing as yelling somebody down, which this other person did at the slightest provocation. He actually had home training. So, just like when a lot of us have to end up coddling G-Man when we go into his rooms, because then he'll start kicking people out. And even when he goes in other people's rooms, he gets upset because people criticize something that he's done or said, and then he'll leave. So you do have to coddle G-Man. So, and it's sad, but it happens. Like, that's what we have to do. So if you're unwilling to coddle folks, you're unwilling to coddle them. And that it goes to the person. I can't recommend whether or not. If I had my choice, I would say don't coddle grown-ass people. If some of them have some slight personality defects, they don't pick up on social cues, and will mess with Cliff Jumper because he has like the worst timing for the worst jokes ever. You know what? That's just Cliff Jumper. That's kind of what he does. It's not damning. It's not going to wreck a conversation. Wolf King is probably right up there too, with people who have half decent jokes, but the worst timing you could imagine to deliver them. And fuck with him too. But those are kind of minor things, right? Those are just kind of minor annoyances. Fiona, I gotta mess with you too. Fiona will continue her soliloquy with an ellipsis attached to another ellipsis and another soliloquy. So it's Jade, I'm gonna mess with you too. Jade will tell you a story, the history, the etymology, the cellular breakdown of whatever it is the topic is, and she will throw that shit at you. And if you don't catch it, she's gonna furrow her brow and reiterate. But that's stuff that we put up with. And I say put up with just for comedic effect, but it's things that we know about each other so that this is unique to this person. It's not necessarily hindering a conversation, but it is things that we acknowledge, and they don't cross that hard line. No one's yelling at each other. That's a definite hard boundary that people should set. Like, yelling is just absolutely disruptive. But you shouldn't then go, well, I have a mental illness, therefore I get to do this anytime I want to. No. Negative. Double negative. No. Don't do it. So that bothers me to no end. And anybody else who suffers from mental illness also knows that bothers them to no end, especially PTSD. Don't use that as an excuse. I know Jim, good old communist Jim, is going to agree with me on that, because he and I both get triggered when people use PTSD as an excuse. Don't do that. And fucking Paul Loby. Speaking of Paul Loby, I'm about to end this. I got to start getting ready for class. And I got to go fondle Mrs. Drag. But Jim and I actually had a conversation about the whole anthem kneeling thing. It's actually a really good conversation. It's on Max Hangs Out's channel. We ended up talking. Jim warned him, was like, we're going to end up talking about Army shit. And sure enough, we had like an hour conversation about Army shit. But really good, really cordial conversation. I will be on a podcast, syndicated radio podcast with two other veterans. One of them being Paul Loby. Another guy named Scott. We will be discussing political issues. And so this is an opportunity for me, because evidently we could get paid for this. So, which I was like, I was going to do it for free anyway. But, a little bit of added income is also good. So if you do want to hear me more talk about political issues, and with other people who are veterans from different services, we think we have Marines, I'm Army, and Scott is Navy. So yeah, we have all the important branches covered. And that's going to be starting here in about, I think, 3 weeks. Once I get the link to the actual station, I'll tell people how to tune in. I'll probably make a video, but the show is going to be called the After Action Review. And if you've been in the military, you know what an After Action Review is. And that's kind of, hinting on the fact that we're all veterans and we've all conducted After Action Reviews. So if you are interested in hearing me and some other people, because I think Scott is a polar opposite of me. And so I want to say he is a Trump supporter. He is more conservative. So it's a nice mixture, and Paul kind of sits in between. And it really depends, because his I have to actually sit down, because some of our views really do blend together. It depends on the topic. Now that I think about it, it really does depend on the topic. So be looking for that if you're interested. It's going to be called the After Action Review, and I got to get the name of the network that we're going to be on. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Also, I think after I come back from class, I only have one class today. A friend of mine sent me this. Who Made Me and Why? It's from the YouTube channel Islamic Guidance. I do have a longtime friend who she converted to Islam a few years ago, and she's a nice person. Like, she's really nice, but she likes having conversations to challenge her beliefs, and she is not one of the crazy, Islamic individuals who think that everyone should. Well, I can't even say that honestly. She got some funky ass beliefs, but she's cordial, and that's what matters to me. So I might do a review of this video. It's almost fucking 30 minutes long, but the first half is dealing with the Islamic version of science, cosmology, cosmogony, evolution, all that kind of shit. They try to cover. Okay, it's VRS network. Okay, all right. So the network for the podcast is going to be on VRS network, and they're going to be hosting us and doing all that shit. So if you are interested in the After Action review, that's where it's going to be at. Like I said, I'll give you more information later. I'll probably open a hangout to listen to this Islamic version of, how we got to everything and how Allah is the center of everything and every law and all this other shit. I've listened to it once, and it's pretty fucking funny. So I felt that I'd be remiss if I did not share this video with everybody, because I rarely get the chance to address Islamic religious beliefs, which are fucking hilarious. So on that note, folks, if you got a mental illness, deal with that shit. Take care of it professionally. Acknowledge it, tackle it. Same thing with a personality defect. I challenge everybody in the CCP. I challenge every last one of y'all to do what I did. Veckel, G-Man, True, Vulcan, all you guys. Tommy, open up a hangout. Let people come in who disagree with you and give you feedback on your personality defects. Constructive criticism. Don't be sensitive. Don't be rude when people approach you about the shit. Challenge your goddamn self. If I can do it, you can do it. So on that note, folks, see ya.